Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about a concept called narrative point of view. You might have heard both of those terms separately before, but we're going to talk about what it means when we're reading a work of fiction today. We're going to take Cornell notes to help us learn about the concept. You can use these Cornell notes later for any of the work that we're going to do regarding the story Hatchet. We'll also use this for an activity tomorrow. So we're titling our notes Narrative Point of View. And we've got a couple essential questions that we're going to explore. The first one is, what are the different types of narrative point of view? There are 5 different types, and you need to know what each of those types looks like. The second question that we're going to be exploring is, how can point of view affect how a reader perceives the story? So if an author chooses to use a particular point of view, they're choosing to use that point of view for a reason. They're wanting to have a specific effect on their reader. You need to be able to look at that as part of the story's structure and identify what that effect is that the author is trying to go for. So I'm going to finish setting up my notes right now. Remember, when you create Cornell notes, you have a question column on one side and a note column on the other. I'm going to go ahead and label my question column, and here's my notes column. Okay, remember that in the question column, you're going to create questions that you think a teacher might ask on a quiz. You could also include your vocabulary terms and stuff over here so that you can use it as a quick and easy study guide. Okay, so first, this is probably a review for you guys, but I want to make sure that you know this word narrator, because we're going to be using it for the rest of the notes. I want you to think of the narrator as the voice of a story. And point of view has to do with what that voice, I guess, kind of looks like. There are 5 different types of narrative point of view. We're going to go through all of them. The first one we're going to look at is called first person point of view. So if you're playing video games, like a first-person shooter game or some RPG games, you can make it so the camera is looking out of your character's eyes, right? That's kind of what first-person point of view is in a novel. You are looking through the character's eyes. So this point of view uses first-person pronouns. For example, so if you don't remember what your first person pronouns are, those would be words like I, me, mine, we, us, ours. Anything where the character is referring to themselves using these first person pronouns, that's probably going to be a first person point of view, narrative point of view. And the narrator, in this case, is a character in the story. That means that they are part of the action. Story. So they're not just sitting by watching stuff happen, they're actually making some of the stuff happen. And another part of first person point of view is that we see this narrator's feelings and opinions about things. Okay, so you might wonder, why would an author choose to tell a story from this first person perspective? And they might do it if they're really wanting to focus on one point of view. So author might use to focus on one character's perspective. Or, it could be an and or situation here. They could be interested, or they might have determined that the thoughts and feelings of this character are important to the story. Okay, so here is an example. I saw that the elderly man dropped his keys when he got off the bus. It wasn't my stop, but I knew what I had to do. All right, so looking at this example, I see a couple different things here. I see that I've got this pronoun I. I saw that the elderly man dropped his keys when he got off the bus. It wasn't my stop, but I knew what I had to do. All of those are first person pronouns that help me easily identify that this story is being told from a first person point of view. It also gives me some insight into the character's mind. It says, I knew, right? So that's showing some thinking from that character taking place there. All right, so that is our first type of point of view. The second type of point of view is much more rare. This point of view is called second person point of view. Okay, so second person point of view. Second person point of view is when you are included as part of the story. You're an active participant in the book, okay? Someone's telling you, or the narrator's telling you, what you're doing as the story progresses. And one of the main things that you need to remember here is that the narrator isn't a part of the story. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't, they're not taking any action in the story. They're just telling you what you're doing. And an author might use this point of view to make you feel more involved in the story. Okay, so that is an explanation for that second part. If I'm to use that example from earlier, I could pretty easily change it. You see that the elderly gentleman, or the elderly man, dropped his keys when he got off the bus. it's not your stop, but you get off to give the man back his keys. Okay, so the narrator doesn't know what you're thinking, right? The narrator can describe your actions. So the narrator sees you. See the elderly man drop his keys when he got off the bus. It's not your stop, but you get off to give the man back his keys. Those are the second person pronouns there that are helping you to identify this second person point of view. You are an active participant in the story. Now, the last one, it's kind of tricky because there are several different forms of this last type of narrative point of view. We call this last group third person point of view. Okay, so in this point of view, the narrator is someone outside the story. Okay, so there's somebody outside looking, watching, describing what's going on. And there's different levels of how much this third person narrator knows about the characters. So we're going to talk about those different types. First, you need to know the keywords for this point of view are third person pronouns. So they use third person pronouns, he, she, it, they, them, etc. So whenever they're referring to the story, describing actions, they're using these kinds of words to describe who's doing the action. And of course, you know, the characters' names as well. Okay, so the first type, I'm going to make just another little header here, types of third person. The first one is what we're going to call third person objective. Third person objective is when the narrator is simply describing what's happening. So narrator just describes what's happening. There aren't any thoughts or feelings included. So you can think of this one as kind of being like a camera, okay? So think of this one as like a camera. The camera can't tell you what the people in the picture are thinking or feeling, but by looking at the picture made by the camera, you get to see what happened. It's describing the events for you. The next kind of third person is called third person omniscient. You can think of this as God mode, essentially. This third person narrator knows everything about the story. They know what's happening, they know what people are thinking and feeling, and it's not limited to just one character. They know what everyone is thinking and feeling. That word omniscient means know all. So this narrator knows all. And our third type of third person point of view is called third person limited omniscient. So in this one, the narrator can only describe what some of the characters are thinking and feeling. So they describe everything, can describe everything, but they only know what some of the characters are thinking and feeling. So the author is going to choose one of these third-person perspectives if they want to show multiple characters' experiences. So an author would choose a third-person perspective or point of view if they want to share the experiences of multiple characters. Okay, so that is it for point of view, at least narrative point of view. Okay, you're going to go back right now and you are going to create your quiz questions and you are going to write your summary. Remember, your summary is supposed to attempt to answer the essential questions. All right, so remember you want to complete these notes. You can either scan them or take a picture of them to attach them to the turn-in spot. And I also want you to answer the question on Google Classroom where you are simply going to type in the summary that you created for these notes in that turn-in spot. So you'll have your summary already. You don't have to write a brand new summary. You're just going to type in the summary that you wrote in your handwritten notes. Okay, guys, I'll leave you to it.